So you think your backyard swing is awesome? Well, check this out. How about a sky swing in the Ozarks? And judging by what I have on, this ain't your ordinary grandma swing. And what we mean by not your ordinary grandma's swing, any swing that you need to be strapped in and harnessed in, you can pretty much be certain you ain't gonna be just a swangin'.
This is what's gonna hold you up there. This is what you'll swing by.
Okay.
If you wanna hold on between this tape right here and this little rope.
Okay.
Make sure you grab both cables and don't get your fingers in between.
Okay.
And lock you up right here. All right, you're good.
And so we go. This is like being lifted to a gravity drop. But if you like swings, then from what I gather, this is the ultimate ride. So we'll see.
And this is the rope, what he's looking at right now. The winch is attached to it, it's gonna haul you up the back hole.
The way it works, a winch pulls you up to your desired height while you're holding on to the release rope. And when you're ready, just give the command and enjoy about a 30-foot free fall before going into the initial swing motion. Stop. 1, 2, 3, swing! Whoa, yeah! Oh, yeah! That is awesome. Wow.
1, 2, 3, swing. Whoa, yeah.
So, what is the feeling like? Well, kind of like Spider-Man swinging between skyscrapers, only here, you're swinging between all the beautiful wilderness.
View above the tree line is awesome.
Well, the initial free fall was probably the most fun thing I've ever done to this day. And this is the rope, what he's looking right now is the rope that's the winch is attached.
How would you compare this like to other thrills here, like the zip line? I guess it's kind of its own entity.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather do the swing. Zip line is a lot of fun, but just like I said, the free fall, you don't get that feeling on the zip line. And the views, amazing. All right. How's that feel?
It's probably a wise choice.
Yeah.
First time I was a little bit nervous. I went about halfway, just to kind of get the feel of that drop, because I heard that drop was pretty intense. It was, but I wanted a little more, so the next time I went to the top, and it was much more significant drop and that much more fun as well.
It's kind of the same feeling, maybe magnified 100 times when you remember as a child swinging.
It is. You've got that same, I mean, it works exactly like a swing. There's not a jerk or anything. It's a very smooth swing. It's just much greater scale.
Well, there's a couple different types of swings you can build. We just decided to go with this design because it keeps you in line so that when you're swinging out over the treetop that you really get to maximize your view on the valley down below. And it also allows us to get people pretty high so you get to increase the G-force or the feeling of the weightless drop on the swing more than other designs do.
So how was it for you the first time?
Well, I have a special place in my heart for zip lines, but for me, swings are where it's at. I love swings, and the bigger the better, in my opinion. So the first time I did this one, this was the highest one I've done, and I was elated. After I built it, I had to be the first one to ride, and it's just a rule I've got, and it did not disappoint me at all.
I thought this was a really good ride, actually. I mean, when you got up there, it's just intense, you know, the wind's coming towards your face, you can just feel it. It's a really good ride. I'm not gonna lie, I'd go on it again, a lot more times.
I thought this was pretty cool. I mean, I would go on it like a couple more times, you know. But when you first go, it just knocks the wind out of you. You're like, oh, but it's pretty cool. Like, I would go on it again. But yeah, it was sweet.
Yeah, there you go, girl.
So with everyone having such a great time swinging, of course, videographer Jeffrey James had to get in on the action as well. Most of you have probably fished for bass from a boat in a lake, but what about river wade fishing for bass? We've hooked up again with a buddy of mine, Shane Goodner of Catch 'em All Guide Service, to try our luck at these beauties.
This water is so shallow, when you come up on an area, you can see fish actually swimming. You can see bass swimming. If you look right in here, you can see brim swimming everywhere, and we're not interested in those. See them just swimming back and forth, especially with polarized lenses. But if there's any bass in here, they won't stay in that sunlight very long. They'll come right down there in that shade. So let's ease down here and we'll make a couple of casts. And I'll show you how I want you to operate this worm. And before this day's over, Chuck, you're going to be a river fisherman. Look at that bait, make sure it's all right. Point it at me here. Work her back nice and easy. It should be a good fish right in here. There you go. Those fish will get out of that sun. There. Got him? There you go, Chuck. Hold your rod tip up. All right, now.
Reeling in a spotted bass or Kentucky bass was going to be the norm for the day.
Typical river fish. Of course, obviously this fish is not very big, but there are things that you can look at on this fish to identify. One of which, on a spotted bass, his first and second dorsal fin are actually connected. On a black bass, this fin is separate from the second fin. Secondly, there's nice uniform rows of dark spots below a dark lateral line. That's the second thing. Thing number three, characteristic number three, is when you close the fish's mouth, his actual mouth does not extend back past the back of the eye. And spotted bass have a smaller mouth, like a smallmouth. Those are the three things, or four things, that you can identify between the difference between a little spotted bass and a largemouth bass. Ease around this way.
Along with a plastic worm, our other bait of choice for the day was a buzz bait.
That tree's got fish written all over it, doesn't it? One of the most effective topwater baits that you can possibly throw in a river situation is an 1/8 ounce, either a Strike King or a Booyah Pond Magic buzz bait. Now these baits are made to run on top of the water, and obviously by looking at it, you can see that it's got a prop on it. And that prop buzzes on top. There was a fish, hit it right there. Once again, got lots of moss, so we're going to be dealing with that. But the point is, this bait looks like an injured bait fish that is struggling on top. See how effective that bait is, Chuck? And it's a real key bait to use in the summertime in a river system, especially a shallow water river system like what we're fishing today. Here's a good one.
Oh yeah.
That's a smallmouth too, I believe.
Actually, utilizing both the buzz bait along with the plastic worm was our plan of action.
The fish that won't hit that buzz bait will hit that soft plastic and vice versa. So instead of fishing against each other, which is what a lot of people end up doing, they try to beat each other to the holes and all that kind of nonsense, which is just silly. Because when you're fishing, the most important thing is to work together, you know, and catch fish. I mean, that's why we're here. Now here's another spotted bass right here, obviously that blew up on that buzz bait. Now Chuck, you can bet every dime that you got that this fish saw that dead ringer and he didn't want it. So that's the reason he didn't hit it. Just another little small fish. But see, that's the key. We're gonna come to these places, and what doesn't hit the soft plastic will hit the buzz bait. What doesn't hit the buzz bait will hit the soft plastic. We'll work together fishing areas. That way, you know, we get maximum productivity, and it'll make you look good. And me. There he is.
Oh, he was right.
He's not a big fish, but he's a fish.
Kind of. Yeah, that's a
little better fish there.
Yeah.
Of course, once again, you know, these are our spotted bass. But, you know, even though we got moss everywhere because of the heat, you know, these fish don't have a mark on them. They're just as pretty as they can be, all of them. Just like you drew a picture of him. Doesn't have a spot on him. That's another cool thing about river fish. For a fish to get, you know, 13, 14 inches like that one was, he'd have to live down here 3-4 years. And this ain't an easy place to live. I mean, you know, the drought, the flooding, the predators, not very much fishing pressure down here to speak of. But, you know, there's a lot of things that can eat a fish that size. Nothing wrong with that. That is the dreaded green sunfish.
Oh.
Got him?
Got something.
Yep. I think it may be a brim. Hold him up right here and I'll get him off.
Another one of those.
Another sunfish. Well, one thing we used to do when we were kids, before we graduated, and of course, you know, I'm a devout bass fisherman, but the trout, you know, down at Carpenter Dam are such a fine opportunity for me to run my business and catch a lot of fish. It's too good to pass up. Well, that's the way we are. All river fishermen are very flexible in the fact that we're really good at catching lots of different species of fish. You know, we just didn't always catch bass down here. I mean, this river's full of gar, drum, got crappie in it, you know, 4 or 5 different species of brim. So it's just, you know, too good an opportunity to pass up. So David Gaston, who's a dear friend of mine, and he is the president of South Fork, because he's the oldest of our bunch. But we decided years ago, now David was one of those guys, in the 5th grade, he was 6 foot tall, weighed 200 pounds. In the 5th grade, I was 5'5" and weighed 110 on a good day. So he had me beat all physically, but I was a pretty good fisherman then. But point of the story is, we decided one day we were going to find out who the best fisherman was. You know, he said he was, and I knew I was, so we got a problem. So we started at 6 o'clock in the morning throwing a small Rebel crawdad crankbait. We fished for 14 straight hours nonstop. He beat me. He caught 236 and I caught 233. Now a lot of those fish were this long, but a lot of them were good fish. So we were throwing a crankbait. You come down here and throw that crankbait, you catch a fish every cast. A lot of them would be brim. But if you're just into the catching aspect, river's the place to come. That's an old spot there. You know what we've not caught today? That's a decent fish. Bad as a bear. You know what we've not caught yet?
What's that?
Just a regular largemouth. These are all spotted bass. Not a mark on him. They'd kind of hold him like this in your hand, put pressure on his belly. That's how guys will land fish in a tournament when they're crankbait fishing. They'll lay down on the side of the boat. Have you seen them do that? And you can't reach in the fish's mouth because it's got a crankbait in there. You know, you don't want those hooks in your mouth. So they come down up under the fish and belly him like this. See how he won't move? Kind of paralyzes him.
Yeah.
And then they'll pull him up and put him in the boat.
Huh. I didn't know that.
What do you think about that one, Jim? There's so much more to fishing than meets the eye. That fish came right out from under that log and grabbed it.
After about 4 hours of this, videographer Jeffrey James just couldn't stand it anymore. So he handed the camera over to me while landing one himself.
Nothing wrong with that bass. Not at all. There you go, Mr. Jeff. Good job. Got one. The dandy.
Well, I thought I did. After it was all said and done, we all caught a total of 40 fish.
Oh, there's a spot for you right there. sports fan. My girlfriend told me that variety was the spice of life. That's what she said right before she left me. Not really.
We decided to go back to an area where we did an earlier segment on exploring Arkansas, an area where there are man-made gravel and sandbars at the base of Pettigene Mountain near Morrilton. This is where least terns hang out and lay their eggs, and it's also not too bad of a place to do a little kayak fishing. Before we actually get into the kayak fishing part of this trip, first about these endangered least terns. They are migratory, wintering in Central America, the Caribbean, and northern South America. They usually arrive at their breeding grounds in late April, such as at these man-made sandbars on the Arkansas River near Pettigene Mountain, where they are mainly free from humans and predators. Their nesting begins by mid-May and is usually complete by mid-June. The nests with the eggs are usually situated on barren to sparsely vegetated areas near the water, normally on sandy or gravelly surfaces, so as to camouflage the eggs as much as possible. In fact, even when looking at the nesting site directly, it takes a while to realize there are eggs there. And so, thanks to the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission, the Army Corps of Engineers, and other agencies, least terns are making a comeback.
This is what it was all about. The least terns, you saw the eggs, you know, this, we're going to build more, you know, the Corps is coming up on a 12-foot depth in about 10% of the river, and they can do the same thing with that 10% that they did here, bring in more sanctuaries for birds and animals. But you can see my birds are here now. They're here.
And the studies, the research is continuing on it.
Oh yes, yes. Out of Votech, out of Russellville. The people are coming up and keeping account on that. Also your federal Fish and Wildlife are doing it, and your Corps of Engineers, the ecological end, is doing it. So, you know, we're keeping up. It's a great thing. It really is.
We were walking around over here, I mean, and if you don't know it, you don't realize it, I mean, those eggs just blend right into the gravel, and you can step on them if you're, you know, not careful. And
oh yeah, yeah, well, like what, you know, what happened to you. This is the reason they're coming up here. They're going to put signs. This is really a true bird sanctuary now. And I'm going to ask people not to come up here. And the reason I brought you up is to show you why you don't want to come up here, because you will step on the eggs, you will step on the little birds, and it's not worth it. You know, we've got these other sandbars over here that we can turn around. You can go over there and you're not going to mess anything up. But this island, being up as high as it is with the gravel, is perfect for my little least terns.
And people can come here like we did in kayaks to do a little kayak fishing around.
Oh yeah, yeah, kayak fishing is fantastic. What's neat about kayak fishing is the fact you don't have to have a $50,000 boat, a $50,000 car or truck to pull it. $25,000, $30,000 worth of rods and reels. You can come out here with a couple of rods and reels. Say it'll end up costing you, say, anywhere from $500 to a few $1,000s and have a nice fishing, you know, kayak. Down in Louisiana, Mississippi, all along the Gulf Coast there, you know what redfish are, okay? The redfish tournaments even have a division for kayaks now. And maybe we could do this same thing for, you know, like bass fishing. And it's basically getting more people involved with water and the outdoors at a cheaper price.
Mount Sequoyah overlooking Fayetteville is quite the popular sunset overlook destination. But not too many people realize or know the other story to this favorite spot. Mount Sequoyah is located just off from the downtown area of Fayetteville, overlooking the town and the University of Arkansas. It was thus a strategic spot during the Civil War by the Confederates for shelling Union forces below in the Battle of Fayetteville. A lot of the fighting took place on the front lawn of the headquarters house, which served as a command post for both sides during the war. That battle earned the intersection of College and Dixon the title of Bloody Corner.
In the spring of 1863, the Union forces had more or less taken control of northwest Arkansas and a lot of Arkansas north of the Arkansas River. But the Confederate forces, of course, wanted to, as much as possible, take some of that back. And in April of 1863, William Cable, who was in charge of a colonel in charge of a large section of Confederate troops, 900, decided they would try to attack Fayetteville, which was a stronghold at that point for the Union. And they rode overnight, trying to get here early in the morning to surprise the Union and hopefully capture the town without having to have a battle. As it turned out, as they were coming up the West Fork Valley and got to the south side of Fayetteville, they ran into some Union pickets. It was easy to overrun those pickets, but enough shots were fired that they alerted the Union troops here in Fayetteville, who were just at that point in the morning just beginning to get up, just beginning to wake up. It was about 6 in the morning. And, but that gave them just enough time to scurry around and get their arms together and get set before the Confederates could charge in. Cable had his troops, his cavalry and infantry, come up the hollow over here, just east of headquarters house, and he took his artillery up onto Mount Sequoyah so that he could fire down on the Union. And while he was getting that all together, it gave the Union troops enough time to get prepared and get set where they wanted, that they weren't able to really jump on the Union troops with the element of surprise that they wanted. The fighting began about 7:30 or so. Confederate forces moved out of the hollow. They were able to take a house across here that was called Baxter House. It was part of the campus of the old Arkansas College, which most of it had been destroyed earlier in the war. But Baxter House was still standing, a lot of people in it. The Confederates were able to move forward and get hold of it. They wanted to get headquarters house as well, but the Union troops were able to amass around it and hold on to it. So there was bitter fighting going right across the street, Dixon Street now, between the Union and Confederate forces.
And that damage is still on what used to be the front door.
Right, the front door, other parts of the house had been damaged by gunfire. The door itself still has a bullet hole, and the Washington County Historical Society, to make sure that that door was better protected, went ahead and moved it to an inside door and moved that inside door back to be the front door.
The Confederates who died in the Battle of Fayetteville and in other battles around northwest Arkansas were laid to rest here at the Confederate Cemetery nearby Mount Sequoyah. Union troops, some 1,600, were laid to rest at the Fayetteville National Cemetery, along with veterans of other wars. It is one of the oldest in the South, designated by President Abraham Lincoln. The story of Mount Sequoyah doesn't end here. Just who is it named after? Many want to believe that it stems from the famous Cherokee himself, Sequoyah, who was known as the greatest Cherokee.
You know, I was hoping that we could prove that Mount Sequoyah was named that because we really believe Sequoyah was here, but we cannot prove that. And so Mount Sequoyah got its name when they named the streets. He is called the greatest Cherokee, and they named the Sequoyah trees out in California after him. And he did something that no other human had ever done in the world, and that was he did not know how to read or write, and yet he invented a Cherokee alphabet of about 84 letters. So imagine that, he was the greatest.
If you come to Mount Sequoyah, you can also explore the nearby designated Mount Sequoyah Woods and Natural Area. Here you can hike along several decent trails. But by all means, you have to stick around and take in a sunset atop Mount Sequoyah. That is a must. For more on Mount Sequoyah and Mount Sequoyah Woods and Natural Area and the Battle of Fayetteville, check out our brand new revamped mobile website at aetn.org/exploringarkansas. And we'll see you again the next time for another exciting adventure on Exploring Arkansas.